Well, we're joined now by Anand Menon, director of the think tank UK in a Changing Europe. Anand Menon, good to see you on the program. Thank you for joining us. So first of all, let's take a look at this specific arrangement that Rachel Reeves is talking about, the Pan-Euro-Mediterranean Convention. Your understanding, what is it exactly in simple terms, and what difference would it actually make?
Well, in simple terms, as you just heard, it's an arrangement between a bunch of Mediterranean bordering countries and the European Union. It's meant to make trade in goods easier. And what it does, when you have a trade agreement, part of the trade agreement is a deal on how much of anything you sell to your partners is made in your country. Simply put, what this trade deal allows you to do is say that anything made in any of the signatories counts as locally made product, so you can sell it without tariffs. So basically any of those signatories, say Turkey, if they have an input into goods that we export, we don't face the danger of tariffs because of not meeting what are called rules of origin regulations. So it's a way of making trade a little bit easier between those countries. It could have a tiny impact, I suppose, on our trade with the European Union. But it's a first step, if you like, towards what Labour are calling their reset in relations with the European Union.
And what kind of, you mentioned it's a first step. Where do you think, not so much where the government would like to take it, but where you think they actually will? We're hearing so much about this binary choice that the UK is going to have to make between the EU on the one side and, an America ruled by Donald Trump, who is absolutely no fan of the European Union. So where do you think this reset is going to lead the government?
Well, there's two slightly different things here. On Trump, what I would say is there is a danger that the UK government finds itself forced into a position of having to choose. So if, for instance, Donald Trump says, we will not impose tariffs on the UK, we will impose tariffs on the EU, I think there will be some in the European Union who will say, well, in that case, why should we go out of our way to work closely with the UK? So there's the potential of choices. On the reset itself, Labour have set out some very minor things they'd like to change about the deal that Boris Johnson negotiated. We suspect that negotiations on those things will start over the next few months, but whether it goes further than that, we don't know yet. We don't know whether Labour in government is going to be more ambitious than Labour was in its manifesto and in opposition.
Obviously, it's an incredibly sensitive issue, and a lot of people, subtly and sometimes not so subtly, accusing the Labour government of wanting more than a reset, but almost like a rejoin or some closer contact with the customs union. Why do you think the Chancellor made these comments this morning?
Well, to put them into context, the comments weren't that earth-shattering in the sense that all she said was, we are willing to consider the possibility of talking about joining this organisation, this deal between the EU and its neighbours. And I think it would have been stranger had she ruled it out. She said, we're willing to consider it. And I think it's partly to signal the fact that the government wants to deliver on its stated priority of growth. It would be weird indeed if the government said, we're prioritising growth, but we're not going to look into ways like this of potentially increasing trade. Obviously, if we decide to do this, there are going to be negotiations ahead. But I think we need to keep it in context. The economic impact, if we join this Pan-Europe Mediterranean Convention, would be pretty small overall.